Hi guys, so I think today what I'm going to be explaining to you guys is a little game that I created inside of the world. And I think the reason why I need to create like games and like social media and include like phones and major political events is because it's important for world building. Like you have to have this very well thought out world. They're in college right now, so that means that they're really focused on political events. They're really focused on TikTok dopamine stuff. They're really focused on the gym. They're really focused on clubs. They're really focused on fitting in XYZ. At least most people are in the world. Not Timbo though. Timbo is going to be like one of the only few people that have like this special thing to him where he doesn't really interact with the world. He interacts with himself. And he uses himself as a catalyst for his self-growth. And just like the experience where he reached out to that person who was accused of like stalking someone, this false rumor. He just does those very like outlandish things to like learn more about the world, learn more about human nature. And he constantly tries like new things. He joins a political club. He goes on walks and he thinks about like everything that's happened in a day and how he can improve next time around and whether he's actually in the wrong. Like all those things like lead to very good character development, but I also need to remember that he's in a world and that world has all these nuances, celebrities, like all those little things that like not a lot of people really like focus on. I think I need to add like movies, like all those things need to be added. I think what I'm trying to get at is that I need to make this world more complete. Like I have to make this world actually feel real. And to do that, I have to like create a world from scratch. And this world building is how a lot of like people fall short on. Because if it doesn't feel like a world, then you can't get yourself immersed in the world. You can't actually put yourself in the shoes of another person. If even such a little thing, the fact that the kids have like no entertainment, like they don't go to movies, they don't go to restaurants with their friends, they don't like attend clubs, they don't attend plays and stuff like that. Like if you don't add those little things, it doesn't feel real. That's what I have to do to make my book feel real. And it's very hard. Like the only example of someone doing it right is J.K. Rowling. And J.K. Rowling spent so much time building up the wizarding world of Harry Potter that it's incredible how like she managed to do that all in one go. I mean, I could also do it like the Hunger Games where it just focuses on one event, where essentially like the Hunger Games is all that they're doing and they have no time to focus on anything else. But it doesn't create this like cohesive world where there's a lot going on, you know? I think the best way that I can approach this is by adding things that most teenagers in modern society like to do, like go to movies, play games, scroll on TikTok, go to the gym, XYZ, in order to create like such a cohesive world. For like modern books, you just have to have this sense of world building where there's like phones, there's like this constant stream of entertainment. People really focus on their physical appearance. Wait, I need to show you guys. So that's why I created this game called Procly. And essentially Procly is Pinterest, but there's like a ranking system where users vote on the best pages, the best curated pages. That's essentially a theme to like show how people or like teenagers for the most part in the modern day really have this curated image of themselves on like social media. And they choose these specific interests like K-pop, like Harry Potter, like those specific interests to make them a more unique and compelling person. Because most people, let's just face it, aren't that unique and there's nothing like special about them. And as a result, they have to like latch onto Harry Potter. They have to latch onto like, I don't know, BTS or something like that in order to get that sense of like uniqueness, that they're unique but not too unique. And I've also added this gambling mechanic because a lot of people like gambling. And I also added this like competition, celebrity culture stuff in order to make it more real. And this game is played religiously by one of Chimbo's friends, which is a guy called Stuart. And Stuart has invested so much time and effort into this game. He spent like thousands of dollars. And he's just waiting to like be included into the Champions Tournament essentially. But the Champions Tournament, as Timbo knows, is rigged and he does not have the heart to tell him that the Champions Tournament is rigged and the media producers have already like match fixed everything. So there's literally no shot of him winning. And that's essentially the reality of social media today, where there's such a small chance of you like actually breaking out. Like for every Jinxie and for every queso that you see, there's like 10,000 streamers that have failed. And that's just the sad reality of it all, which is unfortunate, unfortunately. But yeah, like those two examples are essentially the two examples that the media shows you in order to like get you to keep on trying to like make it in, I don't know, the streaming world, the influencer world, the modeling world, XYZ. Because I truly believe the days of like an up and coming like streamer or artist actually making it is just so hard. You have to spend so much amount of time and effort onto your content that it just makes everything really, really like not worth it. And I think the most important aspect of all like the most successful people is that they haven't given up. Even when they feel like they're down, even when they feel like they're not like making it, they still keep on going. Because I remember that Jinxie had like 1 viewer for an entire year before he finally blew up. And that's essentially what it takes. You just have to keep on grinding. And maybe I'll write Stewart in as a side character that actually accomplishes it, but I don't know, we'll see. It's just really hard to do that, and I'm not really sure if a lot of people, including Stewart, have that ability to like keep on grinding until they finally make it, even with no view of the top of the mountain after like so many years. So essentially what we're going to make Qingbo do is after he sits with the person at the dining hall, he's going to go and skip his English class in favor of going on a hike in the forest where he thinks about all that he's done, where he talks about what happened that day, where he talks about his father, his parents, his father's cancer diagnosis, and essentially why he's so stressed out and his current like precarious situation that he has to, or that he wants to get out of. And I've been thinking that I want to use this forest like scene, this forest exposition in order to like introduce the world, introduce the characters. And as I continue to write, I'll just like backfill the information if it's important that the readers get to know or get to understand this particular subject or this particular person or this particular like aspect of the world. And I think one of like the main points that I want to like get drilled into the reader is that Qingbo is talking to himself most of the time in the book. And essentially this is what I've written. Qingbo desperately wished he could take a break from all these constant thoughts. He had consulted with a lot of people, and it seemed that he was the only one who overthought this much. It was both a blessing and a curse. Introspective, but never able to live in the moment. It sucked. And essentially what this tells or conveys to the reader is that it's more personal. Like he's talking to you, he's talking to himself. And you're getting inside of his mind and every thought that he thinks. And it's not like a regular third-person book, but it's a very personable book, like Notes from the Underground, where you can get inside of that character's head and you can understand why he's so angry, why he's so depressed, why he hates that person, XYZ. And that's essentially like the sense that I want to emulate in this book. And after he goes on the hike, this is where the story begins. Because what he does next is he goes and attends a club meeting. And it's shown that he's one of the diversity members, but he's also the only diversity leadership position. And he somehow clinched that role, even though people hate him, like the vice president, who hates him because she believes that he doesn't deserve it, even though Qingbo's essay was pretty good, all things considered. And Qingbo recognizes how lucky he is to be in this position because this club is going to be called the Youth Group. And in China, there's a counterpart called the Communist Youth League, which is incredibly important and like influential in the grand scheme of things. For example, Hu Jintao and Li Keqiang, both the premiers and the general secretary of China, were part and crucial components of the CYL. And essentially the youth group, the Jacksonian youth group, seeks to emulate this. And Qingbo is in College 211's youth group. He holds the leadership position of being the treasurer, but the treasurer doesn't really do much, which is why he is a treasurer, because he is a diversity hire essentially. But after he attends this like standard run-of-the-mill meeting, which essentially is just like boilerplate language, like nothing ever gets done, it's basically like just a lecture at this point. But after the meeting, Qingbo finds out that the vice secretary, which is essentially the second in command, it goes general secretary, vice secretary, president, vice president, and then all the other leadership positions. The president and vice president tell him that the vice secretary has done a hit and run, and because the presidents can't afford to be the one doing all the dirty work, they let Qingbo be the one to cover it up for the vice secretary. And I'm doing this because the secretaries are very, very important people. They have a lot of connections and they're extremely talented. But this is going to be a case of nepotism, where it's shown that the vice secretary as well as the general secretary don't even show up to the meetings. Like they're just out there partying all day, all night. And That's essentially what got them into the hit and run. And it just shows that people who have like nepotism or like parents or like connections protecting them will always be replaced by the people that are actually competent. And I know you guys will think that like the Chinese political system is mostly contained by like nepotism and stuff like that, but that is not the case. It is a true democracy within the system, like not outside of the system. You can't like elect leaders, but it is a true meritocracy within the political system. Except for the top 7 people. That is more political, but everyone else is solely based on their merits. Like if they perform well, if they're good at talking to people, if they're really smart, if they're really competent, that's how they get promoted. You do not get promoted solely based off of connections, especially at the higher levels, like the provincial secretaries. You do not get promoted unless you're competent. And those people, I've met a few of them, they are so incredibly smart that most people won't even be able to tell that they're smart. And yeah, that's essentially what I'm trying to convey. And essentially we're gonna let Qingbo go to the medical bay and try to get a settlement between the victim as well as the vice secretary. And some interesting stuff is gonna happen because of that. So stay tuned for the next one.